Right, welcome to the Passion Project podcast. Today's guest with me is me, Ramiro. Hi, Moose.
Hi, Ramiro.
We're trying different stuff, each time we do an episode. This time it's going to be more of you asking me questions, but some of them are topical and it's not necessarily about me.
We were texting obviously before, today, breaking down what the topics were going to be. And he said, yeah, if you want to ask me topical questions.
Yeah.
And I read that and I went, isn't topical sunscreen? I didn't know what that was, topical.
You got to look it up.
You guys, I have a degree in media and communications with a minor in political science, and I did not know what he meant by topical.
Things that have been happening.
Like current events.
Current events.
Yeah.
Things that are happening recently in the news and things of that nature.
But topical, though, could also mean.
It could also mean, banana boat or lotion, I guess.
I was like, we're going to talk about sunscreen.
Yeah. What do you use, Lubriderm, or do you prefer?
Anyways, let's just jump right into some current news going on right now. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, here, let's guys, I'm a little congested, but I'm going to give you my best news reporting voice, and Ramiro is just going to jump in as soon as I introduce the topic, and let's see what happens. Hold on. Everyone just give me a minute. I'm going to, for dramatic effect. Ready? We're ready, guys? This is Mustafa bin Saleh reporting live from Passion Project podcast with Ramiro Torres. Ramiro, how are you doing today, sir?
Oh, thanks for having me. Great.
In breaking news, well, this honestly really isn't breaking news. I mean, Ramiro, you've been in the radio game long enough, and I'm sure this has been a topic for God knows how long, but P. Diddy and all of his other aliases have, everything's pretty much come out now, and it's hardcore facts. I'm going to read you a quick sentence from CBS News so we can just have a credible source. And then honestly, I'm really interested to hear your deep dive because, you've been in radio for so long. So I'm curious to see what your brain is. Anyway, so it reads, Sean Diddy Combs was held without bail Tuesday after he was charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Combs pleaded not guilty to the charges in federal court in New York City. Ramiro?
Yes. Oh, you want me to? I'm not surprised. It's the least surprising thing. Okay, so first of all, the two things that for some reason people can never get enough of, they think they could get enough of, but they 100% can't get enough of: money and power. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look at somebody who's really, really, really rich, has a ridiculous amount of money. They're just looking for ways to make more money because at that point it's like, I got it all. I just want to make more money. And the same with power. Everybody who has power, it's just like, I want more power, Diddy's one of those guys. He had a lot of money. He had a lot of power. He was enjoying it. But unfortunately, I don't think that he's an anomaly. I think look at when the Me Too stuff happened, all the dudes that got busted with that stuff, like Harvey Weinstein and other people in different industries and stuff like that. I think that's something that happens in, like Hollywood, in sports, in music. And when you're used to getting what you want, the times that somebody's giving you a little bit of resistance, it's almost like a challenge to get what you want at that point. So he was probably getting what he wanted at a certain point, and then, the challenge was, let me see if I can get it a little more. I heard one time somebody was talking about, it was like an old athlete or something, and it was a guy who he's been divorced and all that stuff, and he was talking about whenever he was on the road, he was like, at first it started with me cheating on my wife, and then after a while, cheating with one girl wasn't exciting. So I do two girls. He's like, and then that kind of got a little bit easy. because it was easy to get. So it was like 2 girls and like, toys and stuff like that. And he said, and then it would get to the point where like I'd go home to be with my wife and I'd be like, I can't, this isn't going to work. So and I think that's what with the Diddy stuff. It's like you got all this, everyone, it starts off with people throwing themselves at you and then you just do what you want. And as long as people are letting you do what you want, why would you stop?
Yeah, but it's crazy how it gets to the level he's at. Like, look, this says right here, also in the article, in the indictment, prosecutors allege that since 2008, Combs has been a part of a criminal organization that has engaged in or attempted to engage in sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, obstruction of justice, and other offenses. Like, how does it get to that point?
I think because, so a lot of those, like the sexual trafficking and stuff like that, that could be, I'm having a party, Moose, you're my assistant, make sure that there's a lot of girls there. The party's going to be in Miami. Now you're bringing in women from New York, bringing women from Vegas and stuff like that. They're going to come, they're going to have sex at my party. That's sexual trafficking right there. But like the kidnapping stuff,
forced labor.
Yeah, the forced that's where it gets crazy. Like there's the stuff that they were saying that was happening at these freaking parties is nuts. Like it's weird because there's so many celebrities connected to him and you can't think that all of them knew about it. It's like everything else. It's like levels. So some of them probably went just to enjoy a party. It's just like when you go normally to hang out with anywhere you go, and there's always like a group of people who whatever want to hang a little extra and drink a little more. And you either go like, nah, I'm good, I'm gonna go home. Or you're like, yeah, I'll have a couple more drinks. And then there's someone else, that other one person who's like, fuck it, man, let's make this an all-nighter. And you're either going to stop there or you're going to say, fuck it, I'm going to hang with you all night. And I think the same thing, it's like the equivalent of that when he was having a party. You had the people who came and they went and hung out hung out till midnight, having some drinks, dancing and stuff like that. And then there were the people who, went in the back and did whatever. And then there were the people who were like, all right, get the lube, get the ball gags. We're going to go nuts. I don't think, well, who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't think that it was like this thing where it's like, hey, we're going to Diddy's house and we are going to all have sex with each other and do drugs and hang from the walls. I don't think that's what it was. I think that it was certain people that he, just like Jeffrey Epstein. You know what? He Jeffrey Epstein, everyone's like, oh, look at all these people that were connected with Jeffrey Epstein. And a lot of people came out. Well, a lot of people didn't come out, haven't said anything. And other people were like, yo, dude, I just got on a plane with this guy. He was trying to telling me about this. It was almost like he was trying to groom them and they didn't get that far. I think it's the same with Diddy. It's like some people he might have tried to groom them or whatever. What do they say? They're saying that he was trying to get him on film to blackmail him and stuff. Yeah. And they didn't let it get that far. And then others, I honestly can't. I feel like this is just the beginning. I feel like there's going to be so many people coming out with this, with stuff with this.
Hasn't correct me if I'm wrong, hasn't 50 Cent always said this?
A lot of people have always said this. It's always been, that's the thing. Like the same thing with Diddy and with Harvey Weinstein.
And Bill Cosby.
And Bill Cosby. You look back at old stuff and people would make jokes and imply stuff. And I don't know, maybe a lot of people looked at it like, some people went over their heads. Other people looked at it as inside jokes. And other people were like, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I think it's the same with Diddy. But I honestly, I feel like in hip hop, not as bad as Diddy, but a lot of guys have done those type of things.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately, back in the day, there was a girl that they called Superhead who was known to just be on video shoots servicing the rappers and then being like in the videos and stuff like that. And I mean, Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, all these dudes and stuff. But it was just like a thing that people talked about and nobody like just took serious back then.
Yeah.
Or took as serious. I don't know. It's just society, I think, now is just looking at stuff a little bit differently.
You know? I'd like to think I have a versatile taste in music. I can't name you one P. Diddy song.
You can't name one P. Diddy song?
I know.
He's more my generation than yours.
No, but like, I listen to a lot of music. Like my range is pretty far. And like I know the song he did for Biggie.
Which one?
The one with like every breath you take, like that one, like when he's
I'll Be Missing You. Yeah,
that. And then wasn't he in like a Mariah Carey remix for like Honey? Him and a bunch of other rappers.
Oh my God, Moose! More money, more problems. I come in.
Oh yeah, that's P. Diddy.
He's on that.
Oh okay.
I love it when you call me Big Papa. He produced that for Biggie.
Well, he produced it, yeah, but like a P. Diddy song.
Oh, like a P. Diddy song?
Yeah.
See,
like, I don't know.
He doesn't have that many where it's just like him.
So is he mainly known as like a producer?
Yeah, and he'll get on like a verse on a song. And you know what's funny? Like if you said to me just like a straight up P. Diddy song like with nobody else, I don't think there one exists. Like the song I Need a Girl to ride.
Yeah.
He raps on that. Been around the world, nah, yeah. That's him and Mace.
I don't know that one.
Oh, you don't know that one? Yeah, Diddy's a little more. He was more '90s, early 2000s.
Yeah,
he
wasn't on like top 40 like R. Kelly was.
No. He was on top.
He was
killing it, but it was just a little more before your time. Like probably when you got to know him, it was more when he was producing other. I'm trying to think. So you were born in what, 2000?
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, because now usually people, I would say their wheelhouse for music is like 10 to 12 ish or something. So now we're talking 2010, 2012. Yeah, that was way past his prime.
Yeah.
At that point he was just like a name that you knew about in music, but you didn't really experience this stuff. Oh, so that makes sense.
He, not even just him. I think it's a hard thing because it's like all that. It's like we were talking about this about why am I blinking right now? He has a show out too right now, Patriots player, the one that murdered everybody.
Aaron Hernandez.
I don't know why I just blanked on his name. Anyways, there's a show out about him right now too that they just released. It's a docu-drama, but anyways, it's like that idea and that topic of when you get to a certain point, like, do rules and laws not apply to you?
Yeah, well,
it's like or in their mind, do they think they can rule the world?
I think of it this way, and I've said this a million times. I would never have been a good, like, superstar athlete, because imagine at the age, like, once you hit your teens, right? 15, 16, 17, 18, having people like basically start kissing your butt and giving you not everything you want, but like at that age, everything you want, having girls just hitting on you, having dudes kissing, having adults coming to you and, it's time to go to college and being like, hey, come to this college. You'll get this, you'll get that, you'll get this. When I was like 18, I would have turned into a sex addicted, drug addicted. 100%. I know I wouldn't be able to handle it. I know I wouldn't be able to handle it. There's a few. I think the percentage of kids at that age that could handle it, having everything handed to them at that age, is so minimal compared to the ones that can't handle it. It's almost like when you see of like the TV stars as kids, how they all kind of end up as disasters as adults. I think it's the same thing. It's getting everything handed to you at such a young age, not being able to. It's my only child syndrome. Only children are all a little bit weird because they don't have to inherently fight for anything. They just have to say, I want this, and their mother and dad are like usually fine. Here, we'll do this, we'll do that for you because you want it. To shut you up from whining. Whereas if you grow up with siblings, you're kind of learning to compromise, negotiate, that you're not going to get everything you want. It's not all about you. That's just like an inherent thing you're growing up with, because there's more than one of you. So
there's a documentary out about that too. Child Star.
Really?
Demi Lovato. She produced it.
Demi Lovato.
Drew Barrymore's on it. Raven Simone's on it.
Drew Barrymore, all of them.
They're all on it, talking about their experience as like child stars.
And they are
Drew
the ones.
Barrymore's story is the most fascinating, tragic thing I've ever heard.
Doing drugs as like a 10. But the funny thing is, Drew Barrymore, Raven Simone, who was the other one?
Demi Lovato.
They all kind of bounced back.
Yeah.
There's so many from back in the day that you probably couldn't think of right now. But like if you watch the show, you'd be like, what the hell happened to them? And they might be either dead, addicted, or working a regular job because they blew all their cash.
Yeah.
It's just hard. Like I think, do you think that if you were 16, 17, 18, the superstar athlete, whatever from Revere, everybody's just basically giving you whatever you want, to use you. You think you'd be able to handle that? You think that your brain would be able to process that at that age? I know mine, I 100% couldn't.
I don't want to say and sound like a prick, but like full transparency. I do think it's just like, it's your foundation of like who you are first. I think I've always been a bit more like mature and like an older soul. And those things, like those messes that those like child stars or superstar athletes kind of find themselves in, I don't really even enjoy clubbing. I'm not a drinker. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like those things wouldn't pique my interest. You know what I mean? Like if
I know what you
mean. If they were like, yo, come out tonight. We got this crazy thing. You're going to meet all these people. You can meet this guy that could get you a better deal or whatever. Like, I'd just be like, nah, like I'm all good. This is sparking right now. When I was younger, no one make fun of me. I wanted to be a Barney kid. So bad.
Okay.
So bad. Don't lie and act like you can't see it.
I 100% can't see it.
I wanted to be a Barney kid so bad. And then as I got older and I heard all these crazy stories about the Barney kids. Have you heard some of the things?
I have not heard the crazy story.
Oh my God. But to answer your question, I think if I was in that space, I would like to think I have a confident enough foundation of who I am. But who knows?
I was going to say, because I think...
Who knows?
You're saying that thinking about the person that you are now at 24. Yeah. But again, we're going back. We're rewinding. You're like, I'm not a club guy. I'm not a this or that. But if those things were just a automatic, you could do it whenever you wanted type of situation, back at that age, you might be what the hell? Why not?
I don't know, Ramiro. I was in some pretty crazy situations in like my teen years. Like,
okay, listen, I didn't say every single one, but I think you're part of the minority. I think that would be able to handle it.
Yeah.
You came from a good family and all that stuff. You got to factor all those things in too.
You know what child stars I think are good examples of this? Tia and Tamara. You would never see them in no mess. They were huge stars back in the day. People loved them.
Okay.
They had their fame when they got older.
Yeah.
Tamara was a talk show host for a while. You never saw them in any mess.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Think about them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, I really can't think of anyone else.
I'm not saying that it's 100%.
Yeah.
But it's minimal.
What I love about someone like a Drew Barrymore or like any of those other people we said that kind of had their bounce back, for her, it's like it was her environment. Like it was her mother who was more fame hungry than she was and was exploiting her daughter and putting her young daughter in these situations because her mom wanted to go out and club and party. Yeah. Her mom didn't have a babysitter, but she's like, oh, I'll get into this club because my daughter's Drew Barrymore, the girl from E.T. The bouncer will let us in. Let me bring her with me.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not Drew's fault what happened. She was a child. And it's like, it took so long, not so long, but it's like for someone like her in that position, who's like a superstar in Hollywood, for her to just like, for her to be where she is now, it's like, that's amazing that you pulled yourself out. Britney Spears.
Yeah.
My heart breaks for that woman.
But that's what you're saying goes back to what the jumble I was saying earlier to start with Diddy about money and power. You have to factor in the parents. You have to you can't, I would say most of these kids, whether it's sports stars, music, whatever, I don't know if all their parents are like remember Lindsay Lohan?
Yeah.
Okay, so for a while she was a disaster when she was younger. And people would say it was her. Lindsay Lohan this, Lindsay Lohan that. I had a buddy who worked in a hotel in New York, and he would tell me stories all the time of celebrities that would come in and stuff. And this is after a while it came out that Lindsay Lohan's parents were a little fucked up. But before all that came out, he was like, yo, she's not bad. Her mother's an insane person.
Yeah.
Her dad's a little out there. He said, but she's surrounded by it's her family, and you got to factor all that in.
Yeah, it's the environment that you're in.
It's 100%. I mean, again, at the end of the day, it all falls on you. But it's like if that's all you're being exposed to, it takes a special person to say, you know what, my parents are doing taking advantage of all this stuff. Let me not do that because it's not a good look or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? So. Again, I think when it comes to money and power, look at freaking politics.
Yeah. Oh,
look at world like leaders and stuff. People want to, they'll want to take over countries because they like more power. They like more money. It's crazy.
Did you ever interview Diddy?
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I don't remember anything specifically, but I don't remember anything bad specifically. I think he was very good playing the game. As a matter of fact,
he was media trained.
Very media trained. I remember specifically there was one show that we had who was it that? I can't remember because we had so many shows where because it's hip hop, where the big artists would like not show up or leave last minute or whatever. There was one show in particular where I forget who the big name was that I don't know if they didn't show up last minute or decided last minute. There's different versions of didn't show up. There's just not showing up. There's I'm in New York. The show's in Boston. New York to Boston is 3 hours. So I'm not on stage until 9 o'clock. So I'll leave at 6, like not counting in traffic and stuff like that. So you get caught and you're just never going to make it on time. And I know this is what you said you were going to pay me, but I want to make more or I'm not going to show up last minute. There's a lot of different versions of not showing up. This person's not showing up, I think, was one of the more, it wasn't a stuck in traffic. I think it was something else. But anyway, Diddy was on that show. He basically offered to go on longer and to close the show and put on a great show.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's another thing too with all these things. There's like layers to it. It's like people make it like the person. And by the way, I'm not defending him.
No, you're not.
But if he was a complete piece of shit to everybody from the beginning, he wouldn't be where he was right now.
He played it smart.
You're cool with the right people.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't put a target on your back.
Right. And it's like every human being ever. I don't think there's any human being across the board, I don't know, the Pope, that anybody's like that somebody out there isn't like, no, they're kind of a jerk. You know? Like you can name anybody and there's someone out there who is gonna be like, that person's, we don't vibe.
Yeah.
Or someone's just gonna be like, nah, they're a scumbag. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
You
and
know?
I think it's the intention too, like with those people like Diddy or the child stars we were talking about. It's like what or even like the athletes, like what are you aiming for? Are you aiming for pivotal athletic success and like Super Bowl rings and this, or are you aiming for money, power, and fame?
It depends on the person.
You know what I mean? It's like that's what's your end goal, because
I think you hear more stories of I'm gonna go to. It's hard to do it in music. There's no really like. I mean, there are, but it's just different than sports as far as being like almost like a prodigy at a young age or whatever. But you hear more stories about those athletes who are like, oh my God, as a kid they were just like a prodigy or whatever, and they end up not being as good as they were supposed to be because they lose sight of what it is that they want. You know, like LeBron, he's somebody who had his head on, you know, the right way from the beginning at a very young age and stuff like that. But for the most part, the ones who end up becoming the superstars are the Tom Brady, who kind of had a fight through stuff. Definitely wasn't handed to him.
The underdog, yeah.
Yeah. Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Everyone that Michael Jordan. I will argue. I won't get physical arguing Michael versus LeBron, but like that's one argument that like I would stay in and be like, Michael's better. But anyway, Michael Jordan, and he was amazing, but even him growing up, there's a story about him getting cut from the varsity team in high school and stuff like that. But even if you've watched, did you watch his Michael Jordan, what the hell was it called?
On
The
Netflix?
Last Dance? Yeah.
No.
Oh.
I've been wanting to. I've heard it's really good.
It's amazing. And he is somebody who, he was so good, but his mentality was he would create almost like an enemy. He'd create someone. He'd create challenges because that's what kept him motivated to keep it going. Because if you're walking around being like, oh, I'm the best, it's hard to stay there because you have nothing, as opposed to like when you're chasing something, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I think. I think, you know, the people who just get stuff handed to them are the ones that end up more often than not being able to handle it.
What's so crazy about Diddy is he thinks he's claiming that he's innocent. It says there's a quote from, I don't know if this is his lawyer or whoever this is. It says he's been looking forward to this day. He's been looking forward to clearing his name, and he's going to clear his name.
Yeah, all right. Good
so
luck with that.
I mean, like, this is gonna be something for a while. I'm assuming like these types of things don't get cleared up in like a day, folks. So I'm sure if you tune into any radio station, not the morning show, the Get Up Crew, I'm sure they'll be talking about it as things progress.
Yeah.
And
you know what? And what's crazy, I think now it's, I guess, easier. It's easier to get receipts on people than it used to be back in the day, before TMZ, before social media, before people could just record you walk. Because back in the day, Bill Cosby, athletes, all that stuff. There's guys walking around right now who are probably like in their 60s and stuff like that, who are like, thank God that they didn't have all this social media and TMZ back in the day, because
I'd be in jail. Yeah.
No, they would, because think about it. If you only, I'll give you the perfect examples. Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby, when I was younger, all you knew about him was TV dad for the Cosby Show. And as a comedian, he was like a clean comedian. I don't think he even swore. His comedy was very family friendly. All right? So if that's all you know about the guy, because again, he's not going around on social media, he's not going on Instagram Live, none of that stuff. That's all you know. You're like, oh man, you know, people would always do this thing where they're like, oh, what TV dad or what TV mom would make the best one in real life? He would always be the number one, Cliff Huxtable from the Cosby Show. So if back in the day, if, you know, because people say like, well, why do the victims wait so long to come out? Why don't they? Imagine if at the height of this guy being like Mr. Dad, awesome comedian, some woman coming out and being like, he drugged me and raped me while I was asleep. People will be like, he would never do that. He's such an awesome dad. Like they can't separate the actor
art from the artist,
from the real person. And at that point, it's literally the word of the person who you see weekly or whatever as an awesome dad versus this random stranger who immediately the celebrity's going to spin it as they're just trying to get money from me.
Well, I think Raven said it best. Raven was on the Cosby Show,
Yeah.
and I think she said it best. I think she was on The View at the time, and like this was all like current news, and I think she said like she personally never had a bad experience with him ever. She goes, I was 3 or 4 years old. I was with him till I was like 13.
Yeah.
He was like a uncle or another dad in my life. He was kind, but then she also was like, but I'm not going to neglect all
Correct.
these victims coming forward.
Which goes back to my Diddy argument, where it's like if Bill Cosby was a piece of crap to everyone 100% of the time, he wouldn't have gotten to where he did.
Yeah.
So that's why when these things come out and people are like, oh my God, they were such a scumbag or whatever. And it's like, they weren't a scumbag all the time. They were a scumbag certain times to certain people.
Yeah.
Because again, if they were jerks,
because they have to play the game. Yeah.
Yeah, they play the game. So and there's athletes. Was it Larry Bird? I don't know if it was. I probably wasn't Larry Bird. But I heard a story about an athlete in the 80s who, you know, they would just go to bars and stuff like that to hang out. And, you know, you got fans and then you got people who are fans of the other team that want to talk trash. And there was, I forget who, I'm pretty sure it was a basketball player who he was at a bar, a bunch of fans. Somebody came talking trash because they were a fan of another team. And you ever see the movie, with Colosimo, what's it called?
A Bronx Tale.
Bronx Tale, where close the door, beat the
Yeah.
crap out of the guys, where he basically
Now you can't leave.
where basically the athlete did one of those because it was like a local, you know, where his home team was, and he was basically like locked the door to the bartender, had those guys basically had all the fans kick the crap out of the people talking trash, and then just threw them out.
Yeah, look at me. I'm the guy who did this to you.
But like, if that happened, that wouldn't happen now. That would never happen now.
If you go to certain
No, if it happened, there'd be somebody who'd be like,
there'd be
yo.
footage,
Back then, again, it was these guys getting their ass kicked. And who's your favorite athlete?
My favorite athlete?
Your favorite athlete?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. You're in a bar. Tom Brady's chilling, right? Someone's talking trash to Tom Brady. Tom Brady goes, lock the door. Beat the crap out of this dude. They beat the crap out of him. They throw him out. And then Tom Brady's like, come on, just let's hang out, have drinks or whatever. Are you gonna, and that guy goes, Tom Brady had these guys kick the crap out of me. Are you gonna come out and say that's true? You're gonna be like, that I was there. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
That's just how it was. So like, my point is, that's happening so much now because there's just so many more ways for people to get receipts on people.
Yeah.
So much more ways to get evidence.
Yeah.
You know.
Before we jump into the next topic, can we just talk about this film for 2 seconds? It's like, guys, I sound crazy. I had a wild night of partying and drinking and going crazy. Yeah, right.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Going crazy now. It just, the weather changed. September's a weird time of year.
Yeah.
It's a weird time of year. It's cold in the morning. It's hot at night. You get sick.
Oh.
It sucks. I can't stay. So I apologize. I sound nuts. Anyways.
I have to run to my car in the morning because it's cold, and then
Yeah.
I get out of work and I'm like sweating.
Yeah, it's so bad, and then you get sick from it. But no, Bronx Tale literally is like my top 5 favorite movies in the world. Ever in my life. That was so funny. You said like his full name. You were like Colosimo goes by C. I was like, wow. He said his government name.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what's one thing I love about that film is how, and Chaz Palminteri, he talks about it all the time. He actually did because Bronx Tale's a one-man play.
Show. Yeah.
That's how it originated. He just did it over the summer in Beverly, and I wish I saw it.
Really?
He had 2 nights where he came and did the original show. And I'm sure you guys can like look up interviews and stuff like that where he talks about this, but he always says, he's like, during that time, you know, like the mafia movies, the gangster movies, Goodfellas, you know, Casino. I think that counts as like a mobster movie. Casino.
Yeah.
It's a heist, but it's like a mobster movie.
One of my favorite scenes is when they beat the crap out of Joe Pesci and his brother with the bats.
Yeah.
And they throw him in the hole and they're still breathing.
Yeah,
and then they throw every time that scene, I'm like, that is savage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like those films, he said, you know, he said they were kind of initiating like a tough guy attitude to all these young men, like,
yeah,
we can be scumbags and stuff and whatever. And he's like, I wanted to show that in this movie, when you're a bad guy, when you're do bad things, you don't win.
Right.
And he's like, and look at C, like he idolized Sonny the whole movie. I thought he was money and power and all these things, and Sonny died at the end.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like his dad. It's like that scene with his dad when he's young. He's like, your father's a tough guy. The working man's a tough guy, not him. And then he slaps him. And he's like, Sonny was right, Dad. The working man's a sucker. Yeah. Like it comes to show you, like, you know, Sonny gave him all this advice, all this ways of, like, all this guidance and everything, but he lived such a, I don't know what's the right word, such a, just like a bad way of life, like, you know, like mafia, racketeering, things like that, stealing from people, whatever, drugs, guns, whatever. And look how he ended up.
And you could argue, because again, that goes back to my money and power thing. You could argue that in the line of movies with those type of characters, he was probably like one of the most sympathetic, that you felt bad when he got killed.
Yeah.
You think about that.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah. Because it's like, look at what he did. It's like he saw C's dad, Lorenzo, being a bus driver, and he's like, I can help you make some, he's like, you're a good guy, I respect you, like, let me help you make some more money, help me out. And his dad's like, I don't want to get involved in this and everything. And he always left him alone. But then, you know, when his dad came up to him and he's like, I don't want my son hanging out with you, he's just like, listen, like, I respected you, don't talk to me like, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but he's still kind of a scumbag.
Yeah.
But that's my point of, like, the money and power thing. It's like C was the one kid, even though he got caught up in it, who still almost saw the bad things that he was doing. All the other kids C's age, what they want? They want it to be Sonny.
Yeah, and look what happened to them.
Yeah, and look what happened.
They all died.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I'm like, which brings me back to you at 18 years old having everything handed to you.
No, I really do. No, genuinely, like, now that I'm thinking back and we're talking about this film, like, I really don't. I'm not saying I'd be perfect, but, like, I genuinely, I just really don't. I don't think so. If you haven't seen A Bronx Tale, go check it out. It's such a fantastic movie. So many great lessons. The worst thing in life is wasted talent. If I had tattoos, I'd get that somewhere. Anyways, how many tattoos do you think you have?
Oh God, somebody asked me this the other day. You have to ask me more like how long have I spent in a chair than how many tattoos.
Okay, what year was your first tattoo?
My first one.
Or how old were you?
Probably 20, early 20s, 21, 22.
Okay.
Yeah, this was back when tattoos were illegal in Massachusetts.
Oh, I did not know that.
A lot of people didn't know that.
Back in the year of our Lord.
Yeah, they were illegal. So I got it in New Hampshire, and then I got, like, it was on this side right here on my upper arm. Then I got one over here, and then
are we gonna tell them about the tramp stamp?
I got that removed. No, you know what's funny? At one point when I did get one of my tattoos, I went with my cousin, and she was getting a tramp stamp because that's when tramp stamps were like
lower back tattoos.
Yeah, the lower back. And she kept on stopping because it hurt so bad. And she'd be like, stop. And she'd stop, and she'd go outside to have a cigarette or whatever, and she'd come back in, stop. And I looked at her and I said, yo, you need to suck it up and finish this tattoo, because every time you take a break, that could have been time that the tattoo was getting done.
Yeah.
When you're taking a break, or when your tattoo artist is taking a break, the tattoo's not getting done. This isn't one of those things, like, this isn't like work where you're like, you know what? I'll just extend my lunch break. I'm still going to leave at 5.
And she's going to pay for it, right? Isn't it hourly? Like, you pay the tattoo artist?
Depending on the piece. Like, some people charge by piece, some people charge by hour. Hers was just like a piece.
Yeah.
Like, when you start doing, you know, getting full sleeves and things of that nature, that's a different story.
I don't know if I'd be able to take a tattoo. I think I'm too much of like, actually, no, I'm lying.
You get it? This up here is the least where it hurts.
Where's the most that it hurts? Well, for you.
For me,
I heard the chest sucks.
Here.
Really?
On the inside. A little bit, and I don't even have it full, but like they call this the ditch. That sucks.
The chest didn't hurt?
No, the guy that did it, Andy Shu, the absolute softest hands. He was amazing. Oh, the ribs too. Well, one of my ribs, one didn't hurt until the end. The other one hurt from beginning to end. It was like 6 hours of pure. And he had to take a break because he was doing. He had to stop. It was at the tattoo convention. He starts tattooing me. From the beginning, it was hurting, and normally it's a little shock to the system in the beginning, and then you get numb to it. For some reason, I wasn't getting numb to it. So like it just kept on hurting and hurting. He probably went for about 3-4 hours, and all of a sudden he doesn't speak English. He was talking to his handler, his translator.
I was like,
yeah. His translator was like, "Hey, Andy's got to take a break," and I'm like, "All right, cool." And he goes, "It's gonna be about 2 hours." I said, "What? That's more than a break." He goes, "Well, he has to do a seminar because it was at the convention. He had to do a seminar for a couple of hours. So now 2 hours, the pain goes away. It subsides. It's just like it's a little stings, but not as bad." And he had to come back to finish. Bro, I never forget that next week, people who were there and recognized me. Some people came up and say hi. Some didn't, but took pictures and videos, and they all sent it to me the next week. And it was just like me being like making the worst pain faces because, it sucked. That one sucked.
All right, to jump into the next topic for today, we're kind of staying on the same theme. I mean, they're not fun themes, but they're fun to break down, I would say.
I'm sorry, before you move on to the next question, can we go back to the money power thing?
Yeah. Imagine I went no. I was like, no, we got to keep going.
Netflix next week, I've been waiting for this. The documentary on Vince McMahon is coming out. Have you heard about his story?
No.
Where he was, so he's the guy who was running WWE.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And a couple of years ago, a story came out of a woman. Well, for years, just like everybody else, for years there were stories of like him abusing his power with male talent. Basically like do this or you're not gonna get a push. Like I'm not gonna make you a star. Things of that nature.
Yeah, because he would make the storyline, right?
Right. Some people would do what he said. And the rumors were like, oh yeah, because that's Vince's whatever. That's why they're a superstar. Other people would like just randomly disappear. And the stories would be, because Vince, whatever, either came on to them or asked them to do something that they didn't want to do. And they were like, nah, man, that's not me. And he would fire them. So a couple of years ago, a story came out of a former employee of his who apparently they were having relations. And he was paying her, gave her a good job and was paying her. And then he stopped the payments or whatever. And so she came out talking about everything that happened. And at first people said, oh, of course. Well, of course she's going to, as soon as the check stops coming, that's when you're going to start complaining. But then like the real story started coming out about the things he would have this woman do. He would basically offer her to wrestlers he was trying to kind of sign and offer her sexually. He would do things with her, have other people do things with her. It got to the point, I guess one of the stories is that he pooped on her head or something like that, like really degrading stuff. So the first time the story came out, he resigned, but then he came back right away. Then when the second part of the story came out, when the first part of the story about her, that people thought it was just like a disgruntled employee who he stopped paying, he resigned because it was bad press, but then he came back. Then when the real story started coming out, the real allegations started coming out, he's gone. He left for good. And now
Are there like a lot of like WWE people talking in this?
I hope so. So originally, apparently, the documentary was going to be one that he signed off on. It was supposed to be out maybe last year or the year before. And when all the allegation stuff came out, they were like, well, we're not going to release it. I don't know what happened, but they're going to release it. So I think there's a lot of people. So it's going to be interesting because, again, when it first was being taped, it was supposed to be kind of like the rise to power of this guy. Before all this was before the allegation stuff came out, but now that's come out and they said they're going to add that in towards the end. So it's going to be interesting to see who talks on it because, when it's like the rise to power of people, they're going to be like, he was, you always knew that he was a fighter, somebody who would get what he wanted, like talking about the person good. Are those same people going to come out now and talk after the allegations and say like, well, I always knew he was a scumbag.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So yeah. I'm very interested for that one to come out. But again, another example of you can never have enough money. You can never have enough power.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I know. WWE, I'm not into wrestling, but WWE, It's an interesting franchise because it's like literally one guy was at the helm for so long.
Now it got bought out. It's like
Yeah.
the TKO. It's WWE and UFC, so it's more of a business collaboration. But yeah, at the time, it was him.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
One guy just in control.
One guy.
Of like, it's like, isn't it like he would be like, oh, you're going to lose next week, but you'll have a comeback next month because we're going to bring you in this way.
Like everything. Like, I don't know how many, let's say 50 wrestlers. All of their livelihood and everything is in his hands.
Yeah.
So you
better stay on good terms with him then.
Imagine if you're somebody, there's all different types of people. There's people who go to work, and as much as they love what they do, they're just like not socially as their social like IQ level isn't as high as somebody else who might not be as good or whatever, but they're really good at kissing the boss's ass. And if you have a boss who's like that, who's like, hey, do this for me and then do that for me, and they're like, yeah, I'll do whatever you want. All of a sudden, like, you're looking going, this freaking schmuck is getting, but it's just because you're not playing the game, as they say. All those terms that people say, it's like, you gotta play the game and everything. So yeah, another example. But again, now that we're in an age where all the receipts it's easier to get receipts on people.
No, literally. So speaking of documentaries, another one, actually, this is a docudrama coming out. I'm going to read you a couple sentences. This is an article from the New York Times about the Menendez brothers. This was in the 90s, right?
Menendez
or was it the 80s?
I want to say it was early 2000s. It might have been late 90s.
No, it says 1989.
Really? Who am I thinking of? Oh, you know who I'm thinking of? I think I'm thinking of Scott Peterson.
Maybe, yeah.
Hold on, Scott. Which, before you get to the Menendez thing, the Scott Peterson thing is very interesting because, to me, from everything you've heard about that story, he's the guy who killed his wife, his pregnant wife. From everything you've heard about the story, the guy is like super guilty, but there's an organization called the Innocence Project where they take on cases of people who are in prison and they believe are innocent to get them out of jail and stuff. And they took his case, which is crazy because I've never heard anything about him possibly not being the guy that killed his wife.
Yeah.
What was it that happened to Lacey Peterson? Yeah, 2004. So that's what I was thinking about. Okay, back to the Menendez brothers. Go.
So it says here, on August 20th, 1989, Lyle and Eric Menendez, ages 21 and 18, shot and killed their parents in the family's Beverly Hills mansion. Both were sentenced to life in prison in 1996 after two highly publicized trials, the first of which was broadcast on then nascent court TV. But in the 35 years since the crime, the public has become increasingly divided on whether the brothers were merely the stone-cold opportunists the prosecution said they were. Now, Ryan Murphy, who was, Ryan Murphy, he does American Horror Story. And
he's the one who's doing the Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah, so he does American Crime Story, American Sports Story, yeah. Now, Ryan Murphy, who has a long-standing knack for taking on stories at the intersection of true crime, celebrity, and media, is weighing in with a new scripted version of their story premiering Thursday on Netflix. It's called Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story. The series stars Nicholas Alexander Chavez and Cooper Koch as Lyle and Eric. Javier Bardem's in it. That's a good cast.
I like Javier Bardem.
Yeah, he's a good actor. I don't know much about this. Like, I don't know all the nitty-gritty details. Obviously, this is viewer discretion advised. This is a tragic story. Basically, the two brothers were molested by their dad, and ultimately they killed both of their parents. And, this was obviously a highly publicized thing, and I think, not to sound all like, academic here, I think it's I think it's interesting to break down kind of the ethos of this entire conversation, because it's like, they had something horrible happen to them by their dad.
Yeah, but when the story first came out, from what I recall, I was young, but it was just these two kids killed their parents, and you're like, these fucking monsters killed their parents. That's crazy. And then I feel like it was years later when.
It said almost 30 years later when it started to get
when they were like, wait, there's more to it. It wasn't just like these two crazy brothers who were like, let's kill mom and dad.
Yeah.
Which in the beginning is what. That's what, and think about it. That was, you said 1989?
Yeah.
news wasn't even close to what it is now, with people being like, let's just get the story out, even though we don't have any of the information.
Yeah.
Back then, they usually, from what I remember, maybe back then they were just like the same as it is now, just in a different way. But it seemed like it was more, let's wait until we get as many facts as we can.
Yeah.
Before.
Well, same thing that happened with OJ. That was a media frenzy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, the reason why I'm bringing this topic up is because the show's already out. It's been getting some criticism online because a lot of people think Ryan Murphy and Netflix, they're glorifying murder.
Right.
Because, like, the two young guys were handsome and successful and rich. And Ryan Murphy, I like his shows. I love American Horror Story. He has this thing where he likes to make things look, he has a real knack for, like, aesthetic, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. He can do that really good. Like with the OJ show, he did the OJ show.
Yep.
I loved it because I feel like I got transported back to the 90s. Like, everything looks exactly how it was. And some people are like we shouldn't be glorifying, like, pedophilia. We shouldn't be glorifying murder. This is a real thing that happened. Like, if you want to do a documentary and talk about it, sure, but to make a docudrama and reenact these things. But then there's the other side of it, and they're like, this is such a popular genre. People like docudramas. This is going to bring awareness to people, me, like, who don't really know, who weren't alive during that time, who don't know this case that well.
Yeah.
They can see it through the eyes or the lens of a director or someone that, they like their shows in the past. They can see it through that lens and be exposed to something new. I watched the OJ show. He didn't glorify OJ. In my opinion, he didn't glorify OJ. He didn't whatever. I think he did a really good job at just showing you kind of what this looked like back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you get where I'm trying to go with this?
Yeah, I think when people have negative feelings towards it is because they're thinking the victims were actual people, as opposed to like a Friday the 13th type of scary movie where it's,
fiction.
Yeah, killed 27 people, but it's 27 people that didn't exist. I love getting people's backstories on stuff. I think another subconscious, maybe it's not even subconscious. Maybe people just don't think about it, but I think it's easy for someone to say this person did a bad thing, therefore they were just born a scumbag and were always a scumbag for their entire life, as opposed to getting a person's backstory, which might be, hey, you know what? I grew up with really crappy parents, and again, I'm not defending murder or any of that stuff, but everybody's story is unique. And not, well, maybe I won't say not everybody. I think maybe there are some people who just literally are born with no souls. But for the most part, people become who they are because of a combination of a little bit who they are, but nature and nurture combined. Charles Manson.
Oh, God.
He was just an evil. That dude grew up effed up family. It's just what it is. If you look up a lot of these serial killers, when you see their backstories, you're like, well, yeah, I mean, that's basically the track that life was leading them down. Not defending it, but it's like they grew up maybe if they were lucky, a single parent, but the single parent was like a mother who was a drug addict and had all these guys come over the house who beat her and beat the kid and stuff like that. But a lot of times it was, they might have been on their own from a young age and, kind of fell into the system and just had to find their way in life. And again, you
everyone has a story.
Yeah, but
it doesn't justify. But it doesn't justify when you do something wrong.
I don't think people like seeing that, because the last thing you want to do, it's like, again, it's different to sympathize with Sonny from A Bronx Tale. He's a character, but if you find, let's say,
like a real mafioso,
you just want to be, who's responsible for killing people and stuff. You just want to say to yourself, you know what? they're a scumbag, they shouldn't deserve. But then if you start seeing their backstory and this thing where it's like, yeah, he grew up kind of messed up and he worked his way up to the head of the mob, and there's actually a lot of, you hear this all the time. There's a lot of people in the neighborhood that they took care of, and they kind of like defended that person. Then you start going like, you don't want to feel sympathetic. You're like, no, I want them to be a monster 100%. I don't want to feel any type of sympathy. And
you can still believe they're bad and everything they did was 100%. Horrible, but I think it humanizes the situation, and you're like,
I love that part of it. But
exactly.
I think a lot of people just like to they live in a world of absolutes.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, you're just an absolute
I think
scumbag.
if more people did that, they'd not live in absolutes. Opposite, if they got to understand and maybe break down the mind a little bit of someone. It doesn't even have to be this extreme. It could be someone you don't even agree with. You guys, we could be talking about something and we're on opposing ends of the argument. You know what I mean? And it's like, let me hear why you believe what you believe in. You know what I mean? And it's like, I could still not agree with you at the end of the conversation, but now it's like, I understand why you believe that and why you think that because of your circumstance.
Moose, I'm 100%. That is how I live my life.
Yeah.
Because if you otherwise, you're living your life.
You're selling yourself short.
Yeah, and you're living your life in this weird funnel of just everything's about me.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to agree with what I agree with. How are you going to grow as a human being?
Yeah.
If everything is handed to you.
Yeah.
It's another version of being that 18-year-old kid that everyone's saying yes to.
Exactly.
It's just you're setting your life up that way. I'm going to delete anybody on my social media who's saying things opposite politically from me. I don't want to see that. Okay, so you only want to see people that are going to say things that you're going to say, "Yeah, see? Everybody agrees with me." Think about that.
Yeah.
It doesn't people are weird.
That it doesn't feed your mind.
It doesn't feed your mind at all. Sometimes when I think about that, and I'll hear people, you'll overhear conversations, and you're like, man, that person, they have that thought process. I'm like, am I the weird one?
Yeah.
Because I hear a lot of people who think that way. I'm like, maybe I'm the weird one, and they're thinking the right thing. No, they're the weird one to me.
Yeah. You want to know how extreme? I was working an event one day, and this is we can make this a bit more lighthearted, but it was when Beyonce dropped her country album.
Yep.
And I was working a country concert, and there was just like a certain demographic of people, especially in Massachusetts. The Massachusetts country scene, it's great, but it's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's not like how it is like you would expect in like Nashville. It's a very distinct group. Anyways, I digress.
Let me guess, black people shouldn't do country music.
No. Well, honestly, kind of.
Just because they're black.
This woman came up, and whatever, like you talk, you meet a lot of people. Hi, how you doing? A lot of like, passing conversations, and like Beyonce's album had just dropped. It was a big topic in country music. So I was just bored. I was asking people, what do you think about Cowboy Carter? What do you think about Cowboy Carter? Me personally, I love it. I think it's up there with one of her best pieces of work she's ever done. So this woman comes up, and she's like, oh, I love country music. And she takes out her Facebook album, and she's showing me, I met Kenny Chesney, I met Jason Aldean, I met whatever, this guy, Miranda Lambert, whatever. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. So I'm like, all right. So I asked her, I was like, oh, hey, like, what do you think about Beyonce's country album? She gave me this look. You would have thought I cussed her and her mother out. She was like, she shouldn't be doing country music, like, and she just started giving me her reasonings, and then I asked her, I was like, why don't you think she's like, well, first of all, I don't even listen to women in country a lot. I listen to men in country a lot.
Yeah.
And I went, you do? I was like, why do you do that? And then she's just like, well, that's just my genre. I'm like, oh, so you don't listen to like proper in your terms women in country music? She's like, no. I'm like, okay. I'm like, have you heard any of the Beyonce new album? She's like, no. I'm like, oh, so you won't even give it a shot. You're just not gonna like it. Yeah. She's like, no. And I remember in that moment, I thought she was a buffoon, but I was like laughing in my head. I was just like, there are some people, they are just so stuck in their ways.
Yeah, like you could have a preference. You could be like, I prefer hearing country music from male artists, but when you turn it into therefore, women and minorities should not be allowed to do country music. That's when it gets stupid. But let's turn back the clock to the late 90s when hip-hop was predominantly African-American.
Yeah.
And a young white male by the name of Marshall Mathers entered the scene. Nobody wanted him, and the only reason that he was allowed to have a chance to prove himself was because Dr. Dre co-signed. If his producer was Mike Johnson, I bet you Eminem wouldn't be where Eminem is now. He wouldn't. The only reason that people even gave Eminem an opportunity was because of Dr. Dre. So hip hop did the same thing.
What's that lyric? I am the worst thing since Elvis Presley to do black music selfishly.
Yeah. But it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just people are weird when it comes to like you shouldn't be allowed to do this because why?
Yeah.
Because why?
Like, I wanted to be like, lady, she's from Houston, Texas. You're from Boston. Like, what are you?
Yeah.
She has more of a right to be doing this than you did. It's just funny. It's going back to the topic of what we're just saying about, like, take a minute. If someone doesn't agree with you or if you have opposing views, don't get all up in your emotions and how you feel.
Oh, no.
Just be like, ask why. Do you just not have a genuine curiosity to things? Like, why? How do you tick? And I think that's why these shows, docudramas, documentaries, they're so popular because it's like people just like to break down the ethos, the psychology of things. Now,
I love that stuff.
Now, with this show, I'm going to personally tune in, one, because I am just curious about this story and, the fact that it's done by Ryan Murphy and I like his stuff and things like that. I'm going to tune in. I'm also going to tune into that WWE thing you told me. I'm not even a fan of wrestling, and I'm going to tune in.
No, I like those documentaries. Just, I'm a fan of wrestling, and I've always enjoyed Vince McMahon, and I've always. It's funny because a lot of people be like, "Yo, your boy Vince," and I'm like, "My boy Vince, what?" And none of those stories shock me. It's like when people say like surprised, not shocked. I'm like surprised, not shocked. Again, when anybody in a position of power like that. I think the percentage of ones that don't take advantage of it is so minute.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, they've all done stuff. Elon Musk, Elon Musk got about 15 different kids, so with a bunch of different women.
Oh my
So
God.
his stuff is a little more out there, but I mean, like all those dudes.
Him too. What's my one thing about him is like, I don't know, do not come for me. I do not know anything about electric vehicles and the environment. I don't know all the logistics of it, but it's like, if you take him at face value, like, Tesla and electrics and like clean energy, isn't that kind of his thing? Not like now. I'm just saying, like on the come up, like Tesla, SpaceX, like
what people think, but what they don't realize is the amount of labor and what's being done to the environment to mine the minerals to put those batteries together
is probably even worse.
But people are like, but it's so quiet and no gas. But
it's like, but like someone like him who claims, he's trying to make the world a better place and then has all this baggage.
Listen, everybody again,
so crazy to me because he's like, like clean energy. Let's all get electric vehicles.
Yeah.
I got 8 baby mamas and like all this controversy. Man. It's funny. More money, more problems, more power. Kanye West.
Yeah.
He wrote a whole song about
this. So, it's funny, years ago, who was I talking to? I know it was a group of kids. They were like, and when I say kids, I'm talking about like in the 10 to, let's say 10 to 15, but honestly, I think it was more like 10 to 13 or something like that. It might have been like literally like middle school-ish. And I was talking and I got, I forget how I came up. I think somebody asked me something about role models. And I said, I don't think anybody should have a role model. And all the adults in the room, you could tell they were kind of like, what? Where's he going with this? And I said, I'll tell you why you shouldn't have a role model. Because there is nobody out there who is so perfect that you're going to look at them and go, I'm not going to find a flaw in this person. I said, there's not. So what I do, and what I honestly recommend more people do, not that I have the answers, but I think in order to not get yourself disappointed in life is look, and I'll go back to Michael Jordan, an example. I said, Michael Jordan, a lot of people were like, oh my God, that's my role model right there. He's the man or whatever. No. But what do you like about Michael Jordan? he's awesome. He's amazing. No. But why is he awesome? Why is he amazing? Because he's the best basketball player. Okay. He's awesome. He's an amazing basketball player. Do you know why? Why? Because of his work ethic. He outworks everybody. During practice, he's outworking everybody.
His dedication, yeah.
Right, his dedication. So instead of idolizing Michael Jordan,
his attributes.
I love his work ethic.
Yeah.
I like this person's creativity. I like this person's this. I like this person's that. I go, take little pieces, but if you just try and make one person the be-all, end-all, you are setting yourself up 100% to be disappointed.
Absolutely.
You just are.
Absolutely.
Because there's nobody out there who is just in every, like, think about it. Name them. And don't, and some religious hardcore person is going to be like, Jesus. No. Like, do you know Jesus? Have you met him? He's going by what you read in the books. Yeah. I mean, no, come on, man. Like, again, there's nobody out there who's completely perfect. So that's my thing. It's more like attributes. What attributes do you like in this person? Because, again, name someone.
Oh, I agree with you. I believe the same thing. Have you seen Matthew McConaughey's Oscar speech?
I haven't. I saw one that he did to college students, which was really good.
No, on your way out, watch his Oscar acceptance speech, and he kind of says his role model is him 10 years from now.
Yeah, I love Matthew McConaughey. By the way.
Yeah, me too.
I read his book Green Lights.
Oh, I want to.
Fantastic.
I really want to read it.
The theme, I mean, he goes through his life story, but I like the name of the book is Green Lights because, and ever since I read this book, I'll literally think about that with moments in my life. He says there are moments in your life that are just like a traffic light: red light, yellow light, green light. The green light is like almost like a moment that's good, that's like catapulting you to something else, right? Yellow light is one where you're like, okay, hold on. Just like a yellow light, you're like,
slow it down. Maybe I should stop. Maybe I should redirect. Maybe I should go for it. You know, it's kind of like the yellow lights in life. Literally, what you do with a yellow light. Some people are like gunning it, and some people hit the brakes, and everyone behind them gets mad. Hesitate.
Yeah. And then red lights are red lights in life. Yeah, where you're just like, all right, this is a sign that I need to go in another direction or do something else. And he goes through his life story and gives examples of red lights, of yellow lights, of green lights, and things like that. And it's like I started looking at the things in my life where I'm like, oh, that was a green light. That was a red light. Yellow light. Oh, that was a red light. Oh, green light. You know, you start thinking of moments in your life, which is very cool.
Yeah, I want to read his book. I
like him.
He's one of those guys where he's like, I'm like, he gets it. He found whatever
keeps it
thing
real.
he found. Yeah, he gets it. Yeah, his anyone watch his Oscar win speech. He basically kind of breaks down everything you just said correctly. He's like, he's like, I'm not the guy standing here holding this Oscar should not be your role model. He's like, it's what I've learned along the way. Yeah, he's like, take that and absorb that. And I was like, that he said that beautifully.
He gets very honest about moments in his life. He said, like, when he blew up, I forget what movie it was.
Dazed and Confused?
No. It was the movie where he was like the lead. Maybe like a lawyer movie or something.
Oh yeah. Wait, is it the one with J-Lo? Where he's a lawyer? No, but I know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, keep going.
But he said that before that week, he was like, you know, I'd be walking down to the beach to get a sandwich or whatever, and he was like, sometimes like somebody might look at me like they kind of recognize me. He goes, another time a girl would look at me because they thought I was a good looking guy. Most of the time people would just ignore me. He's like, a week after that movie came out, same thing. He's like, I'm walking down the beach or whatever to get a sandwich. People are coming up to me. How's your dog? I heard he was sick, all this stuff. And he was like, it was such a drastic change that he was like, this is weird. And he even talks about how his mom, they're cool now, but for a while it was weird because she enjoyed that her son was famous and like talking about his life to other people. So again, it's his mom. Yeah. You know, he's like, I love my mom. At that point, him and his mom were cool, but he loves his mom again. It's not all of a sudden like mom's a scumbag for life because she couldn't handle it She couldn't handle it.
He'll go 2 weeks in like isolation, like in the wilderness, no electricity, nothing. I'm like, he's really like on that into the wild stuff.
He really is. He really is.
Like,
His book is fantastic.
I know. I definitely have to check that out. But I think, you know, that's a good point you brought up, and I think, you know, that's I've met one of my, I don't want to say role models because I do have the same opinion as you. I don't like to put it on the person. I like to. And they didn't disappoint. Thank God. Thank God they didn't disappoint, because I would have been like devastated if it did. What if he was a complete jerk?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That would have like devastated me.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to think, wow, maybe I shouldn't put people on the pedestal. It should be what they stand for. Yeah. So the fact that you were saying that to kids is a really good thing. Yeah. It's a really important thing.
Yeah,
you need to start your own Instagram like quote page.
I don't know what I'm doing. You know what's funny? I've had people say that because I'll say you're a part of my list now, my little motivational quotes.
And I love it.
Stuff.
I love it.
But I don't know. My life is a consistent work in progress. I think sometimes when people drop that, try and get all motivational and inspirational, drop in knowledge on people, it's because they think that their life is the work is done. And they're like, and now I shall teach you all how to live your life. And for me, it's almost a, this is what's working right now.
Yeah.
But, you know, then I might read a book or see something and be like, oh, let me try that. Let me see if this works. Let me see if that works. But what's funny is with the meeting your heroes or whatever, that happened to me with Chris Berman from ESPN. He was kind of the reason that I originally first got the seed was planted of me wanting to get into radio. And I had multiple opportunities. Because ESPN's in Connecticut. It's not far. I know a ton of people that work there, and just so many opportunities that people were, and they knew that at the time, you know, that I was a fan. They were, oh, you want to come meet Chris Berman? I can get you to meet Chris Berman. But I remember one person, I overheard them talking about how he was like kind of like a jerk in real life, and I'm like, nah. And why? I'm like, because what? I'm going to meet him. He's going to be a jerk, and then I'm going to be like, oh, great. Guy's a jerk, so I'll appreciate what I enjoyed about him, and if he's a jerk behind the scenes or with everything else, so be it. Yeah, Chris Berman. Yeah, very entertaining on air. Behind the scenes, apparently an asshole, but that doesn't mean that I can't enjoy what I liked about him. What did I like about him? His creativity.
Wait, so you didn't have a good experience?
I never met him.
You never met him. Oh, okay, sorry.
No. I always refused whenever somebody said, do you want to come? I'm going to ESPN for whatever. You can meet Chris Berman. I was always like, no, thank you. Because I remember one person said that he was like a jerk. And I'm like, well, why do I want to
ruin that for you?
Yeah. I'm like, let me appreciate what I do about him. I don't think he's like a nice guy, but at the same time, I can't be like, oh, he's a jerk, because he was a jerk to me. Yeah. Because he wasn't. And I'll give you another example. Barry Bonds.
I look this guy up too.
Look him up. Had the most home runs in one season. Probably like when you were one. He had 73 home runs in baseball. He was an amazing baseball player for the Pirates, right? Went to the Giants. Was still an amazing baseball player. This is around when the steroid era in baseball happened. So everybody's doing steroids, juicing, hitting crazy home runs. He was basically annoyed because he felt like he was a superior player to all these guys who were getting more attention than him. So he starts juicing and absolutely had probably the most incredible season. He was getting, are you a baseball guy at all?
Current day.
No, but you know how like somebody's on second or somebody's on third, a player comes up who's awesome and they're like, we're going to intentionally walk him.
Yeah. I meant current day, like if you throw me someone from like the 90s, I wouldn't know. Yeah.
No. He would get intentionally walked with dudes like on base, like I might be making up the story that he got intentionally walked with the bases loaded, but I don't think that I'm making up that story. He was so scary that they were like, if anybody threw anything even slightly in the strike zone, gone. Anyway, but it was known that he was a jerk, very full of himself, just like a jerk to everybody. It was just kind of like a known thing. So one year, It was in Vegas, I think it was, and I forget. They sent me out there for some award show or something. And at the time,
I wish you had a vlog camera during all this time. I would have loved to see this like in real time.
It would have been if they had cameras or in half the stuff that we did, it would have been amazing. So it was this thing called Radio Row where they had a bunch of tables, all different radio stations, and they'd send a celebrity in and go talk to one table for like 5-10 minutes, go to the next one, to the next one, to the next one.
Like a press junket?
Press junket, yeah. Barry Bonds was one of the people that came through, and when he came down to my table, I don't know why. I don't even know what I said to him, but we hit it off. We talked maybe for like 5-10 minutes, but we just hit it off, right? And I remember when he left, I was like, damn. I'm like, yo, everyone said he was a jerk, but I'm like, he was mad cool to me. But I didn't think anything of it. Later on that night, me and the engineer that went out that went out there with me, we just went down to like a bar and stuff just to like hang out and stuff. Go in the bar and I see like, you know, when you can tell somewhere that there's like, if there's somebody because they're surrounded by people type of situation or whatever. At the bar, you saw like big people and you could just tell they were like, you're like, oh, who's the person or whatever. Couldn't really see because again, they were large men. But then, you know, you kind of look and I was like, oh, it's Barry Bonds at the bar or whatever. So I'm sitting there, you know, talking with the engineer and stuff. And then I look again and he looks over and makes eye contact with me and he waved me over. And I was like, huh? And I went over and he separated his people and he got me a drink and we were BSing. And we sat there and we BS'd for a while. And, you know, after I left, I was like, everyone says this guy's a scumbag, but I just had 2 experiences with him. Maybe he was having a good day. I don't know. But I had 2 really, I can't go around and be like, Barry Bonds is a scum. I could see why people would say he's a scumbag. Yeah. I saw some of his interactions with other people. Yeah. But personally to me, I was like, he was cool as hell to me. Not once, but twice. Yeah. So random.
And it's going back to exactly what we were saying. We're talking on a more serious note, like the Bill Cosby thing. Like, yeah, you can have good interactions with people who might have a bad reputation, but that doesn't mean we're gonna neglect their bad, and it doesn't mean, you know what I mean? It's like
the percentage of people who are 100% bad or 100% good is probably 0.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
You know, humans are humans. So that even with politics now, everyone's like, oh, this person sucks, this person, whatever. It's like, really? Like back in the day, it was when George Bush was president during 9/11 and stuff. Oh, the second one, yeah. The first one got, from what I know, he got respect. But the second one, people had this thing where they always would say, because this is like around when the internet was more prevalent and stuff, so there'd be more clips of things, and there was like a lot of clips of him being like goofy, kind of like messing up, flubbing his words. That song, the J. Cole song, where he's like, fool me once and fool me, can't fool again, like that. There was another one where he was like dancing with some people and he looked kind of goofy, and there was this narrative that he was like dumb. Like they'd be like, oh, the president, almost like the president's like a moron, like he backed into this position. And I remember people would say that, and I'd be like, do you really think, like, honestly, do you believe that the president of the United States is just like a dumb hick from Texas who fell into the presidency? I'm like, do you really think that he's not intelligent at all?
Yeah.
No, he's dumb. Look at this, look at that. And I'm like, okay. You just gave me like a handful of examples. I go, what's he doing right now? I don't know. I go, yeah, you don't. He's probably freaking negotiating with another country about, I'm like, you just can't like blanket say Trump. People are like, oh, Trump, he's this, he's that. I'm like, if he was just like a dummy or this or that, and by the way, I'm never going to tell anybody who I'm going to vote for, but if he was just those things, do you think that he'd be a former president who might get elected again?
Yeah, there takes some level of intelligence, I think, to get to that point.
And on the other side of the fence, people who are like, Kamala, she freaking slept her way to the top, blah, 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 blah. Do you really think that someone can sleep their way to the presidency?
Yeah.
Like, you think that's it? Like, you think like she's just some dumb broad who's like, I will have sex with you for your vote? Do you really think that that's like people are possible? If that was the case, freaking. There'd be a supermodel who's president right now. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like people just like to generalize and make like this absolute thing about people. And I'm
it's
like,
not good to generalize in any sense. You shouldn't do it in any sense.
Absolutely
not in any sense.
Absolutely.
Look how cool this conversation was gonna go from like current topical news, right? Topical news, and I just think we had some really important ideas.
It started off with me sounding like I was defending Diddy. But my point, like the theme was that the theme is money and power. Nobody ever has ever said, I'm good, I'll stop right here.
Yeah.
And the other theme is that there is no absolute good. Hey, it goes back to, have you ever heard the quote where they say, if a bad person does something good, does that make him a good person? And on the other side, if a good person does something bad, does that make them a bad person? No, we're all humans, unfortunately.
We are all humans on this floating rock called Earth.
Well, it depends who you are. You might not believe it's a floating, spinning rock in space. You might think it's a saucer.
This is a PSA. If anyone knows any NASA-affiliated people, any sort of conspiracy theorist, just click the email link on our Instagram page and send us their info. For the love of God, that would be so much fun. I would love to talk to, like a NASA person, someone just in that realm. If you think you do, like I said, just click the email link and shoot us over a message and let us know, because I think you and I would just have a full, like, we wouldn't even talk. We'd be like,
oh my God, I love listening.
Wow.
In that realm, a Secret Service agent or former Secret Service agent.
Evie Pomporis, if you ever stumble upon Passion Project.
No, because think about it. Now, talk about somebody who has to bat 1,000, right? If you're a Secret Service, like not the Secret Service who are like looking for credit card fraud. I'm talking about the fun Secret Service who is like putting your life on the line. You literally have to bat 1,000. Have to. Must. It is imperative. You can't be like, oh, I had a bad day today. President got shot. But on that side of the fence, with the Trump assassination attempt, now everybody's like, Secret Service sucks.
Yeah.
They suck. Get rid of them. It's like, what?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they don't suck. They probably shouldn't
get rid of them. What's the alternative?
I'm like, he almost got killed, but like all of a sudden, again, the Secret Service. It's like, no, it does not. Let's figure out what went wrong.
Yeah.
And work from there.
I know.
You can't just be like, get rid of the head of the Secret Service, get rid of every member, do this, do that.
I know you don't have a lot of time to watch TV, but I really need you to watch that show I keep telling you to watch.
Which one?
Special Ops Lioness.
I will eventually.
I know you don't have time, but it's like if you were to this is the exact theme of the show. Like, okay. It's I gotta the new season comes out next month.
Okay, here's the situation. Here's the sitch. Right now, there's a show called SEAL Team that it's on its last season.
Yeah.
That I'm trying to catch up on for the last season. Then, on my list of it might be next, I'm not sure, but Shogun, which I heard was amazing.
I want to watch that.
I heard that was amazing.
Did great at the Emmys.
Yeah. From episode 1, a friend of mine was like, you'd be into this show, you got to watch it. I just never had the chance to. Then we got to talk about the Vince McMahon documentary that I got to see. I think it's about 6 episodes. Agatha All Along.
Starring that today.
Yep. I might just.
We got to get our Marvel fix.
Yep. And I feel like there was one more. We got SEAL Team, Vince, Agatha, Shogun. What was the other one that? It might just be those 4. But then, what's it called? Lioness?
Special Ops Line. Same guy who did Yellowstone, Taylor Sheridan.
Oh, that's the one.
This is a show you want to watch?
No. Taylor Sheridan has a show, the oil one. He has a new one coming out about like oil, like dudes that dig for oil and stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they're like, it's like Yellowstone except with oil, and I'm like, oh, so I gotta get.
Is it 1887? Is it the prequel to Yellowstone?
No. It's not connected to Yellowstone. One? It's a whole other. Hold on, Taylor. Thank you for reminding me. Taylor, he's my Hollywood guy.
Yeah, he's Taylor amazing. He can write a show.
Taylor Sheridan oilfield show. It's called Landman.
Okay.
Landman, and it starts. Oh, it's on Paramount Plus. Premiere November 2024. So,
Well, look.
Yeah.
Let me just the last thing we'll talk about today, folks, and the last pitch I'll give you with Special Ops. It's a quick. It's not a quick watch. It's 7 episodes, but you will want to finish it in one sitting.
really?
Imagine you were a spy. Imagine
Okay.
you were a top Marine. You were the best of your class, okay?
Okay.
You had all the odds against you, and you are the nastiest academically, physically, and someone comes up to you, and they're like, we're going to promote you. You don't know what your mission is until we start. You don't know. I'm not going to tell you anything about me, but
Sign me up.
But you got to report to me. You're going to infiltrate this terrorist, and if you screw up,
We don't know you.
no, if you screw up and we got to call an airstrike to clear out not only the potential enemies who might rat us out and you, that's on you. But if you screw up, you can try and make it out and we'll come get you, but we're not going to come get you. You got to try and make it out. Zoe Saldana, love her. She just steals the show. Nicole Kidman's in it, Morgan Freeman. I forgot the name of the actress who plays the main character, Joe, but she's amazing in it. I'm telling you, Ramiro, from the
What?
first episode.
What's the? I'm writing this down. Special Ops Lineup. What's the streaming service?
Paramount.
Paramount.
The new season comes out in October. I'm telling you, you're gonna see in one just off the first episode alone. You're gonna be like, I need to see how this ends.
Okay. You know what's so scary is that with my little kids, I realize they don't know what a channel is
Oh yeah, isn't that
because
crazy?
whenever they're like they want to see a show,
Disney Plus.
yeah, they'll be. I'll have to say what streaming service, and they're like, and like they get in the weeds. I'm talking about like Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus, Peacock. I'm like, I thought all you watched was Disney and Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's
isn't that crazy? I know. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Wow, great. AI, internet. Anyways, folks, thank you for tuning into this new episode. Ramiro, you want to close us out?
Yeah, no, thank you. And again, please email. What's the email, Moose? I don't even know the email.
PassionProjectRamiro@gmail.com.
PassionProjectRamiro@gmail.com. If you have any ideas for guests for the show, my preference is getting people in live in studio. But if we have to do a Zoom, so be it. But again, I think the better conversation is live in studio. It's easier for Moose to participate that way.
You
Anyway,
can DM us too.
yes. Thank you very much.